him because they wanted him to do work that was not in his contract, which was remove molded walls and everything. He did it with the tenants in the property. That should not never have been. Mosey's workers broke out in all kind of rashes, and I asked him, I said, what's wrong with you? You all broke out. No, I told him, you have contact dermatitis. That's what the doctor told me that I had from being around that. And I asked her, are you around the mold? Are you remember? And he said, yeah. He said, Miss Jordan, they want me to remove the wall. I told him, if that's not in your contract, why are you doing it? To make a long story short, he ended his contract with them. And the last I spoke with him was some years ago. He didn't even receive all his money. And I was told if I thought the renovation was going bad on that property, that I should have saw what was going on Robinson Place. When I went over there and saw, I could not believe it. But then again, I did believe it because
Did you live in Robinson?
Now,
the same builders?
The same, they were the same equity management. Oh. They was the same contractors that was doing the work. When I tell you it was bad, it was really, really bad. It shouldn't have been allowed to happen. Jack Johnson should have stepped in. He was coming up. He should have stepped in. He should have did something. Should have said something. But when I made my complaints known, I was told to stop complaining. And I'm going to tell you what I told them. I don't pay subsidized rent. I pay the full amount. That's why I go to work every day. I was getting ready to go to South Carolina to build my home on land I own, or I could have bought a property in Prince George's County because I was approved. Stop.
Okay.
Oh, because I was approved by Navy Federal for a loan for $163,000 or $168,000. So I had enough money to do, and that's me by myself, you know, because I worked, you know, and paid my bills. When I tell you Prince George's County, it's a lot over in that county that needs to be told. It's full of corruption, to say the least. Things go on in that county and allowed to happen that should not be allowed to happen. Jack Johnson knows what's going on. Glenn Ivey knows what's going on. And I'm going to speak a little bit to you all about Ronnie L. White. What they know what happened to that young man. They know when them guards killed that young man. They know it, and that he did not hang himself with a sheet. I was an inmate there when they locked me up without a bond on the medical unit. Coming in, they had to take, this was March 9th of '09. When I went to the court, they locked me up right there without a bond. Took me over to the county detention center, processed me in. All the guards treated me like crap, and a name kept coming out. I don't care about that name coming out. It might come out on this, and if it do, it did. And I'm going to tell you what I told them. I don't care about that person. That person shouldn't be doing the things that they doing. And that person should go to hell. That's what I said. You know, and that's what I mean. Over there at the detention center, they taking me up to the medical ward. I was dropped on a stretcher by Corporal L. Maximac. And it makes me wonder if it was intentional or not. Because the stretcher, he pushed a lever or something at the bottom. My head is up and my feet, and this part went slamming down. All the guys, oh, are you all right? And it put me in so much pain. I had to tell them, please don't touch me. Just let me do it by myself. There was anywhere from 10 to 12 special operations officers there. What goes on at that county detention center has no business going on either. I was there after being on the medical ward 3 days. I was sent to isolation and max. But let me tell you what I witnessed while I was there on the medical ward. A young man, I believe he was on a dipper. He was acting out really, really bad.
And what's a dipper?
That's a drug like PCP. Okay. You know, he was like tripping out, you know, taking off his clothes, you know, just tripping out, hitting the walls, just, you know, just going through all kind of changes. Well, he must have had to go to court or somewhere. They came, they bought him his orange uniform. When they took him out, when they brought him back, they made him strip their tumble. You take off your clothes anyway. They made him take off all his clothes. When he had his underwear, taking off his underwear, he threw them. It hit one of the officers' feet. Right? Oh, what you do that for? Right? They went off, got like a 2-gallon container. That's what they would clean up with. The cleaning detail would clean up with. And whatever it was, this container must have been used. They fixed this container up with that for that. And I'm going to tell you why. It must have had sand in it, some kind of something in it, so that it wouldn't lose its form, because they beat that man in his face. They beat him in his face so bad. And when I stopped, I felt so sorry for the man because I couldn't do anything. I really felt bad for him. And it was another guy in the booth. I call it the bubble. He must have turned the camera off or something. And I stood there and I told him, I said, come in. And when he came, I told him, I said, I see what they doing to him. Okay. And the other two, when the young man, kicked his underwear, threw him over there to him, it hit the officer's feet. And when it hit his feet, that's when he really started beating it with the container. And they saw me looking. The guard that came and talked to me, and yes, I can call his name. When I said, I see what they doing like that, he hurried up nervously, went back into the booth. When the other two looked around and saw me, the other two guards, when they looked around and saw me looking, the other one, the one that was beating him really bad, when he finished beating him, then the other officer took him and kicked him with his feet right. And then when they walked past me, and you gonna be next. That's what I was told. You gonna be next. Well, the joke's on you all, because you know what? I can identify you and will identify you. You need to be identified. You need to be told. So I can imagine what happened to Ronnie L. White and the family. Please accept my condolence. Whatever y'all need to do, do it. Because I have a letter from the Prince George's County Detention Center stating something about when they're in their custody, it's their responsibility. It was their responsibility to take care of your loved one missing your son. And my name is Georgia. And if you want to elaborate, I can, with your attorneys and everything, because I already called your attorney. I don't know if they told you or not, but yes, I did. I called your attorney. I just think it's not right what's being allowed to happen up there in that detention center. Falsifying reports, and when they put me in isolation and max for 23, 25 days, and the name kept coming up, falsifying reports because they had a plumbing problem throughout the detention center. How can they come in and have an inspection every week and then pass inspection? Well, when they had me in isolation, they came in to do the inspection. It stunk there in isolation. I had no other choice but to inhale it, because that's where they had me at, in this little cubicle. Okay? I said the next time that they came in, inspection was once a week, that I was going to get their attention. And I told the guards, I'm going to tell what's going on in here. So what I did, I got the girls, some of them were my children from off the street, I call them my children, to get me paper. When they got me paper, I wrote it out, and I can produce that documentation.
So are female prisoners cohabitating with the male prisoners?
Now, females were on H3.
So how were you able to observe the treatment?
On the medical ward, I was on the medical ward. There, on the medical ward, yes, you have both,
okay.
Male and female. That's how I was to observe it. But up there, they had really bad plumbing problems. Sinks backing up, toilets wouldn't flush, running over. It was a mess. That's why I asked them, how? You all can come in every week and do an inspection, they pass inspection. So I said the next time they came in, I was going to question it. Not only did I question, I wrote it on paper. And I put it up at the window in isolation. And when they came in, I waited until they got to the guard's desk. I placed my paper up one after the other, questioning how could these inspections be approved and pass inspection when you had a plumbing problem. It smelled like feces up in there, and initial housing. When I tell you it was a mess, it was a mess. So what I did, I put the paper up, I used my shoe and banged on the window and got the attention, then I backed it for them to come to me, and they read it. And when they read, the young lady looked at me, and I said, could it be that they are falsified reports? She looked at me, I took it down, she asked me to put it back up. I did. Another man came over and read it. They immediately, all of them, went out the door. That's falsified of reports. It should not have been. In initial housing, it was steaming hot. You couldn't even breathe up in there, because eventually I did go to initial housing.
So how did you end up in prison?
They revoked a bond. had a court date. I didn't even know I had the court date because I didn't receive anything in the mail. But my friend Lars Reddick, I call him Mr. CIA. He asked me, he said, could anybody have your mailbox key? And I told him, no, nobody has keys here but me and my daughter. And you know the people that own the property. But an African by the name of Lawala Abola Alabishis had stole my keys and made copies of them because he later called me a stupid bitch and told me he stashed drugs in my van.
And who is he?
Lawala Abola Alabishis. Oh, he's a friend of the Broadwaters. That's who he is, an African drug dealer. Yeah, he told me he stashed drugs in my van, in my kitchen, and in my bedroom, and told me what would happen to me. Oh, he would have voodoo worked on me, and I told him, don't mess around because I might be able to come back with the same thing.
So when you ended up in prison and you didn't get the letter in reference to a court date, is this all related to your housing experiences?
Yes, it is, because I feel Jack Johnson definitely knew what was going on because I was calling his office all the time. Their police kept beating me up. Albert Congressman, I have to give him his propers. Albert R. Wynn's case manager